Hello there. What is going on? There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carlos Phoenix with the Lounge Magazine. This is the Indie Lounge, and we are here with special guests. We got George, we got Chad, we got everybody. Say hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
All right, guys. This is going to be like a catch-up show. Basically, this week is pretty busy with tons of announcements, tons of stuff that's dealing out in the tech world. We're probably not going to get into films and all that type of stuff this week, as much as we want to talk about X-Men that was out there last week.
Yeah, baby.
So we may have to play catch-up again, just on catching up some of those movies, but that'll be a later episode. And the things I want to start catching up, and probably the biggest focus for this week's show will be Apple and their announcements with the Mac OS 5, iOS 5, and Mac Lion operating system. What have you guys heard? What do you think about it?
Definitely excited for the iOS 5, for our Apple iPad and our Apple iPhones. Brings a lot of sweet features. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I mean, even though a lot of people feel that Apple bit or copy, it doesn't matter. We're up to speed on everything and still ahead of the game. So very excited. A lot of new things happen now. A lot of new features. Yeah. Nice.
Yes, a lot of cool stuff in iOS 5 and Lion that I would say are probably revolutionary once again. iCloud, total game changer in the way that, synchronization doesn't matter if it's, your iPad, your iPhone, your, Mac. Hopefully they'll have it also for those with Windows, but I don't know about that one yet.
Well, they do.
Cool.
It actually, it was announced to have a version for Windows,
Really?
and it will be supporting all the operating systems that we're familiar with, except for the Google Android, of course. So, kind of to review, ladies and gentlemen, the Apple had their annual announcements for developers at WWDC, and Steve Jobs was kind enough to do the introductions. And the first thing he started focusing on was the iOS Lion operating system, which will be the next release of the Mac operating system to compete with Windows 8. And a lot of the cool things that they did, we talked about Windows 8 before, and we kind of criticized a little bit of how it looks like their phone system with their shapes and all that type of stuff, and you kind of swipe, and then all of a sudden in the background it's just the same old typical Windows operating system. So we did discuss that, but on the Mac operating system, it feels a little bit more integrated. They too are kind of following that path of doing what the iPhone does with touch. Apple has kind of released a touchpad, which is kind of like a laptop touchpad that you would normally have on the laptop, but it's for your desktop also. And what's cool is that you touch with multiple fingers and you swipe and you do a lot of the stuff that you would do with the iPhone, but you're doing it on the Mac operating system itself. The other thing you're doing is folder structure has changed, where it matches a lot of what you see on the iPhone. So I think that's very interesting too. Other things that they've released are like what was that? Not AirPlay. What was that called?
AirDrop.
Right, AirDrop. So a simplified version of basically dragging and dropping files to your network's computers. So if I need to share a file with my daughter, I can just drop it into her computer, which shows up as a set of icons on the screen, and it just transfers over to her computer. That's really nice. But are there any particular features that you guys might have heard of on Lion that you were like thinking, wow, that's just a breakthrough right there?
I think for me, the biggest one was the mission control. The mission control and the multi-touch gestures is just to have everything at your fingertips. Basically, just multitasking, you know, that was one of the things that definitely caught my eye.
I mean, for me personally, being a PC user, uh, all of it's pretty much fascinating to me. I know I asked you a few questions earlier, just familiarize myself with the Mac product, meaning their PC, and my eyes were open to a lot of things that I didn't know before. As I said, using a PC, I focus mainly on PC. I don't have a tendency to look past something I don't have. So the whole thing is just pretty much incredible to me.
All right. One of the things I felt was fascinating is well, it was awkward and fascinating at the same time. So they're focusing on having programs become full screen, which in Windows has almost always been the case. I mean, it's not a new thought, but for some reason, Apple thinks, "Wow, what an idea! Let's just do it." And it's been 20 years since it's been done before. But what I thought was fascinating about not so much that was that you no longer have to remember to save your documents. I mean, that was really slick. You work on a Word document or whatever document you're doing, whatever program you're using, and you just close the program and it just like says, "Don't worry about it. I got it." Before you press the close button and it'll say, "Well, before you close, you want to save this document." Now it doesn't even bother doing that. It's been saving it the whole time you're writing it. So that's one.
Yes.
So autosave is a feature. Then there's versions. Simply put, it will every few seconds or minutes or whatever, it remembers all the different moves that you did that changed the document, and it saves the previous versions for you. And then later, if you decide, you know what, I think 3 or 4 versions ago, I like that picture that I removed later. Let me go back to it. It kind of does this timeline thing in the background, and you choose. It's almost like having a separate document, but it's really the same document. And you drag and drop what you wanted to put back into the document, and you only drag and drop that piece. So you're not going back in time and then kind of removing what you did since then. You're just taking something from that previous timeline and copying and pasting it into the new one. So that's called versions. And I think there was one other feature there where I can't seem to remember. But that's just some of the stuff that I thought was quite fascinating with their announcements on the operating system.
Now, I had a question for you, Carlos.
Yeah.
Considering you're an Apple user, Mac user, are there any present features that you have on your operating system that you wish could have been improved or included in this new operating system that they haven't touched on?
That's a good question. Well, I think that they've taken a lot of what's already existed and refined it. I think that there's been a thought process that's been slowly being implemented, and now it's kind of all coming together, and you can feel that in both their phone operating system and their computer operating system, where now you can kind of see where their head has been going for the past 10 years and where it's kind of coming together and becoming possibly the new macOS 11, which is not what this operating system is called, but it's kind of like this whatever direction they're going to, and who knows macOS 11 what that's going to entail. But it seems like this is a direction that eventually will meet its point when they decide to release something like that. In terms of what I wish they had released, it's hard to say because they're so. What I feel is they're so far ahead of the game that it's hard to imagine. I mean, they're the ones that are jumping out there and remember and putting stuff together. Improvements on Mail I thought were pretty good. The Mac App Store is pretty interesting. The fact that the operating system is going to cost $29 and you're going to be able to install that in as many computers as you have when you're at home for that same $29. That's insane. I mean, Windows users should be like crying just in the fact that they didn't spend.
Yeah, I just want to cut in right there because we've had this conversation previously. That absolutely sucks. Okay, we have to spend $100 and something for an upgrade for our operating system. You guys are paying like $25, $30, $40. All right, I had no idea, and I am so heated with the fact that you get away with murder on that.
Yeah.
Word of the day, kids. Low ball.
I apologize for that. I'm apologizing for Apple. that you know, I agree. What's interesting and something we didn't touch on with talking about Windows 8. In Windows 8, they, I believe, announced that they're no longer coming out with multiple versions of the operating system.
Correct.
I think they've merged it together to one operating system.
Yes.
Finally. So now whether they're going to charge $400 for the operating system, I don't know. But I think Windows is trying to realize some of the thinking process that Apple's coming up with, and emulating some of that. Now, other things that they've come up with on the new operating system, I'm just trying to remember. There's gesture tracking. There's sandboxing on the software. They're trying to let the people who write software really get more integration into the operating system. What else? Just the way it handles documents. We're going to get into the iCloud because this actually has something to do with the new operating system too. They're integrating iCloud into the process of parts of the operating system. So if I'm writing a document, not only will it auto save it, but then it'll put it in the cloud, which then I can then use on my iPhone and the iPad and continue writing it, and then it goes the same in reverse. I know they're going to put iChat plugins, and let's say there's the auto save, there is auto hiding, so that when you go full screen, all the tools will either disappear until you need them and then they reappear. They're really trying to use the screen space. They understand that the screen space is vital, which is why for them it became a big deal to go full screen. But that's parts of the OS Lion feature sets. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up in terms of OS 10?
No, I just wanted to make clear for those who might not know, the gesture system for OS X Lion is similar to the same system that you have on the iPad, or well, basically the iPad, maybe to the 10th degrees for some who haven't decided to not jailbreak, but actually incorporate gestures on their iPad. Meaning there are three, 4-finger swipes the way you come out of your apps or your programs or whatever. It's very similar to the iPad.
Okay. Now all this is fairly minimal, I think. You know, computer systems, the ones that have been selling, I think, is the iPad. I think the iPad is what people are looking for, more so than the computer systems. And I could be wrong. I mean, people have multiple computers in the homes nowadays. but the new iOS operating system for the iPhone and the iPad, iOS 5.
Yes.
They went pretty deep in there, and a lot of people are pissed off at it, particularly Google users. Any thoughts on that?
That's too bad. Honestly, it's just too bad. Yeah. All right. iPhone was the originator. All right. You fell behind. It's your fault. Blame no one but yourself.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna put so much hate on that. So basically, let me adjust my camera here a little bit. Basically, notifications is one of the big ones. The way iPhone used to have or still have their notification is you'd be playing a game or in the middle of a call or anything, and this little bubble just pops up in front of your screen telling you, hey, you got news, or you got a text message, you got something. And then if you close it, you don't have a way of going back to it. You just have to hunt down the program that it came from and then find out why they sent you a notification. That was probably one of the weakest parts of the iPhone. It to some extent, it was irritating for some people, and I think Google had a great integration of notifications on their operating system right out the box. So props to Google in having a better notification system. Well, Apple finally decided, you know what, we're going to improve ours too, and it has similarities to it. What I like is that you swipe down and you pull down from the top, and you have the ability of seeing notifications from any of the apps, and then you can basically click on it. It'll take you to the app, and you see your notification. Cool. Copycats, but cool. I mean, I got nothing else to say about that. Yes, we stole it off your operating system.
And it works on a better product.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to say it's a better product. I'm just going to say it's a competitive
No,
product.
I'm just fooling around. It to each their own. You know, we just happen to like the iPhone and the iPad.
So the notification's kind of neat. It just kind of shows up on the top and tries not to bother you. And if you notice it, cool. If you don't notice it, you can check on it later, and that's kind of neat. The other thing I think was the
wireless syncing.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
all right, we can talk about
That's
that.
a big one right there.
So yeah, another stolen feature from Google, if you want to say that, and I don't care if you do or don't, is they no longer, when you used to buy an iPhone, you get the iPhone, you get this little logo that says, hey, connect to your iTunes on your computer. And you're like, but it's a phone. Why do I have to have a computer for my phone? Well, for whatever reason, you got to understand that iTunes is the core of the iPhone, even though it's on your computer. And that's that. Well, what they've done is they said, you know what? A lot of people have been bitching about it. Fine. We cut off the cord, and now you're on your own. We gave you wireless syncing with iTunes. So now you can be in the house, you can be on your Wi-Fi and say, you know what, I want to synchronize all your music, documents, whatever you want to synchronize will pop up on your phone. And it's cool. It's different from Google because with Google, it does wireless syncing from outside down the street where, you know, all that synchronization is happening with cyberspace, not your home computer. So that is the difference. The wireless PC syncing, you're in your home network and you're syncing that way. Probably a little bit more secure. You're not worried about Apple having access to all that data, but that's where we get into iCloud. iCloud is now a very Google-ish, to some respect, ability to synchronize your documents and photos. So check it out. You take out your phone. They've improved the speed of the camera turning on, so that's kind of neat. They've also turned the little button here, the volume button, to be your shutter button. So now you just press the button. There was an app that did that, and they banned the app from doing that. They kicked it off, and then since then they've brought it back in. But they didn't allow it to use the hardware buttons. Whatever. They wanted to do it. Wah. Then, so a little bit quicker integration. You take the picture, and behind the, you know, you don't do anything. It's already putting it on the cloud, in your iCloud. iCloud, free, 5 gigs, and full synchronization with your documents and a good majority of everything that's on the iPhone. Plus, they're giving all the developers the API so that they can then integrate all that technology into their app so that if you want to store a game and back up your game status and all that type of stuff, now iCloud does that. So that's neat too. Go on. I know you want to say something.
Me? No. I'm crying.
Oh, come on. I'm the one that's yapping. I want to
You've covered enough. You've covered enough.
PC free is awesome.
Well,
I mean, actually, I could make a comment. No, honestly, though, as you're saying, no, it's a great feature. Like you're saying, I like the fact how the camera app is accessible from the lock screen. You don't have to open up your phone, unlock your phone, especially if you have a lock code for it. You just have access right there simply by pressing a button on the lock screen and then pressing the plus key to actually shoot the picture. But that's great and wonderful.
I agree. I mean, how many
your
times
updates for your iOS wireless also, which is cool because honestly, syncing your iPad or your iPhone to the PC is a pain in the neck. I mean, Matt and I, we both have iOS devices, and we have to take turns, and we have a lot of information on our devices. It's a pain. It's honestly a pain.
One thing I've really liked that I enjoy being an artist. I have a lot of photos. I have a lot of pics in my photo album. I like the fact now that they have the function where you can organize your photos and pictures right on the iPad. You don't have to hook it up, sync it to in order to make folders and so forth. So that's extremely cool. Very relief. Cool. Yeah, relief.
All right, so
especially when you have thousands and thousands of pics, and images.
So let me elaborate a little bit on this iCloud. So the iCloud basically is servers that Apple has put together out of North Carolina, and for free you get 5 gigs. And in those 5 gigs, you can store your documents and a bunch of other stuff. Now, photos and music. You may have heard rumors, it might be on the news, that Apple has deals with all 4 major record labels. And this will allow you, especially if you already have an iPhone, all those purchases that you've been doing over the years of buying music with iTunes, they have all that information. They know what you bought. And what they're doing is they're giving you the ability to just access that music whenever you want on whatever device you want, including your Windows machine or your Mac. And if you have multiple Macs, it's going to allow you to share it with those computers too. So that's one. Those 5 gigs, the photos and the music do not affect those 5 gigs. So strictly for your data. They know, you know what? You may have 20,000 songs, but those 5 gigs are not, don't worry about those 5 gigs. Those 20,000 songs will not affect those 5 gigs. But this is why, and here's the difference between Google Music and the iCloud. In Google Music, they couldn't get those record deals. The record labels will not permit them to share the music that they may already have access to with you through Google. You have to prove that you own it, and you have to upload it yourself. So let's say, hypothetically, you have 20,000 songs on your hard drive. You got to upload all 20,000 songs into your Google Music site. And what that means is it'll take you 2 weeks to do that. iPhone has 18 million songs on their servers. And if they already know what you own, they're like, okay, don't worry, we got this. We know what you own already. If you need to download it again, we'll just use the files that we got. And that's how it works. So everybody has access to those same files that they've purchased, and they just link it to it. And it'll download on your iPhone or your iPad or whatever, if you had not synced it, and suddenly you realize, you know what, I wish I had this Beatles song that I purchased. Well, then you go into your iTunes in your phone, and it has a little purchase folder, and it says, oh, these are songs that you own. If you'll need to download it on this one, go ahead, click on it, and it'll download. So that's how that works. The photos also do not take any space from those 5 gigs. And this is how this works. So you take a picture, it automatically uploads, and then here's what the cool thing that happens. It uploads it, but it stores it only for 30 days. And you get to access those files from your Apple TV, from your desktop, from your Windows machine, from your iPad. And the way it does it is it just keeps it in the cloud, and you can show it off to your friends and family whenever you want. Anything you want to keep, you move away from the folder that's being synced into a normal permanent folder that you have on the desktop or your iPad or whatever, and those you get that you keep those. After 30 days, after 30 days, it'll automatically remove those pictures, and that's that. I mean, problem solved. That's why they don't take the 5 gigs. They don't permanently place it online. You do what you want to do with those pictures. They're yours, but you have to then choose what you want to keep and what you want to transfer. So pictures that you took on the phone stay in the phone unless you want to get rid of them. But it also is on the cloud. So there. So that's how that works. Now, go ahead. And then
the other big thing about the iCloud service that we were really fond of was the fact that your programs, or your apps rather, get backed up along with their settings. Because between Matt and I, we've run into situations where we've deleted certain apps, either by accident or on purpose, get caught up in something, have to come back, and we don't recall exactly what we had to download it again. I think that's a pretty slick feature right there.
Agreed. Now, the last feature on the iCloud that I'll focus on, I mean, there's tons more, but I don't want to get into everything, is iTunes knows, well, Apple knows that you didn't always just buy music from them. You probably have a whole CD collection, or you've stolen CDs from someone, or whatever, or you've downloaded online. They got that. part of the deal that they did with the record labels was, you know what? We're going to spend $100 million and pay it to you guys for our customers. So here's the money. And then Apple's going to basically say, look, we did this for you, but you got to pay $25 a year. And we'll be able to scan all your music, and we're going to give you an upgraded file version, and we're going to replace your song with ours. And it's DRM free, so it's not copy protected or anything. And that's like the permission slip. That's like when, you know, you have immigrants in the country and the government says, well, you know, for people who've been here for the past 10 years, we're going to give you amnesty. You'll stay in the country, no problem. We'll just give you whatever documents you need. Those of you who've maybe, possibly, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I mean, you know, I don't do it. I haven't done it in years.
Show you right.
If you've downloaded from other websites and what have you, they will scan your file. You pay $25, and it's like you have been blessed. You no longer have to worry about going to jail for it. And you keep those files. Those are downloaded files. They're not streamed. And that goes into my last comment on iCloud. The only thing I don't like about iCloud is that it's not streamed. You know, it's all this music on the cloud. It's your music and all that stuff, but you have to download it instead of just saying, you know what, I don't want to use up all my hard drive space. I want to stream it. So, so that's that. You know, they may change that. I don't know, but that's the big one on the iCloud. In terms of backup, I'm going to clarify something for some people that are maybe like caught up in the iCloud and, oh, well, now I never have to worry about my files. I do always and 100% recommend that you have another backup system. And Apple will admit to that too. This is it. iCloud is thinking of just kind of simplifying the file system process for you and being able to access your files. And it's about access, not about backing up. Okay, so it's really important. Have a backup system. Use Moxie. Use Sooner. Use I don't know if Dropbox works this way, but you know, there's plenty of services to choose from. But I do highly recommend to always maintain a backup system. And that's about that for that.
Moving right along.
Okay. Now we only got a couple of minutes left. So, are there any features? Oh, there is one feature I want to kind of bring up. That's huge. I think bigger than some of the other stuff we've talked about. iMessages. iMessages is a feature that is supposed to kick RIM in the nuts. RIM being BlackBerry. One of the biggest advantages outside of having secure email has been their BlackBerry messaging feature, which is the ability to text message anyone with a BlackBerry for free without paying for text messaging. That is huge for BlackBerry. And now Apple's the first company to tackle it and offer their own version of that. What's great is that it works on all the operating systems that have the Mac operating system in it, the Mac iOS operating system. So iPads that are just Wi-Fi or iPod Touches that are just Wi-Fi also have that messaging system. That's pretty impressive. Any thoughts?
And Twitter built into the iOS.
Integration with Twitter.
Yes, Twitter integration, huge. You know, now whether that's a smack in the face for Facebook, I don't know. There is some slight Facebook integration, but the hardcore Twitter integration throughout the entire operating system is pretty profound. What a lot of people think is like, well, why have Twitter on your iPhone? Keep in mind, this is just to post. So if you're reading an article or if you're taking a picture and you want to post it, that's all it's for. It's for posting. It's not to read your Twitter messages and see what everybody else is saying. So that's just a comment I wanted to put in there.
We are a Twittering nation.
Also, the integration of all your magazines and newspapers into newsstands, so you don't have to go from app to app to app to find out the latest details. That's pretty slick also, I found.
Most definitely. now keep in mind, and you may or may not know this, the magazines are not interactive magazines. These are literally the same magazines you'd be buying off the shelf. And what it is an app that is basically a newsstand. And the newsstand allows you to get the latest version of the magazine, download it into your iPad or iPhone. Well, I think it's mostly iPad, but it's kept up to date as long as you subscribe to the magazine. And you'll see the front cover of the magazine so you know it's the latest version. And you just flip through it like you would the average magazine.
And they have plenty of them.
Split keyboard for the iPad.
Yes.
Wonderful. Finally. Thank you. Someone's getting it right.
Well, interestingly enough, Windows 8 has this idea as well. Windows 8 has where you have the keyboard on the bottom corners, and it's so that you can type with your thumbs. And they had that. They started that with the UMPC, but UMPC never really took off, and it's like it was the Windows version of the tablet, but again, it never really grabbed hold of the market. And Apple apparently was thinking in the same lines. The difference here is you can actually kind of grab the keyboard and split it in two and then place it anywhere on the screen that you feel comfortable with. And that's a nice way of integrating this type of keyboard and making it different from the Windows experience.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, considering how, even though we hold things, it's just like a person walking. That no two people walk alike, so no two people hold their devices the same. So it just makes it, I read a couple of comments where people complained about their hands cramping and so forth. And so that is definitely a nice little feature on the iPad.
Yeah, speed typing is a pain in the neck unless it's in portrait mode.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to cut this episode short because we do plan on having a second episode tomorrow where we're focusing on a bunch of the announcements that was on E3. And perhaps we can take a little bit more time on that episode. And if there's any, the Apple stuff was pretty straightforward, so we kind of wanted to quickly run through it and talk about it. And then kind of explain and elaborate a little bit more on some of those features that Apple had released. So once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, George. Thank you, Matt and Chad, for participating in today's episode. And this episode has been sponsored by The Art of Tees. And The Art of Tees is a t-shirt manufacturing company. They work great with a lot of musical artists that I've been interviewing, and they'll be great for you. Go to theartoftees.com, and there's a design tool there where you can actually upload your graphics, do the front, the back, choose the color t-shirt you want, or you can give them a call, and they'll actually basically take care of you and tell you all the different options you have in terms of the types of shirts, the types of garments that they use, the type of printing they have. And that's about it, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for kind of running through this episode. I know we kind of quickly went through all the different features of the operating systems, and we're going to get into more details as the weeks go on and we start integrating it into our lives as well.
iOS 5 available in the fall.
Yes.
And 9 in July.
And my last comment, Lion is only available on the Mac App Store download for $29. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Do, 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 do.